All right, hey everybody, TG Watkins here. Let's see, we got it's May 11th. We just had CPI come in and it was hot, and the market did tank overnight, but then they bought the dip. So we're going to be walking through that, and we're going to have to take some of that as basically market generated news and information and say, all right, got to kind of change some of our plans for what's going on there. So let me make sure that everything else is up and running. Looks like we are. Good to see everybody. And those of you who are on Facebook, YouTube, feel free to type in, ask some questions, and chat, and we'll see what we can do. And then, yep, looks like we're good in the free trading room. So I know we got a whole bunch of people over there as well. And then over in Moxie, we're running there as well. Okay. So I have been watching the UVXY, and I've been talking about this for quite some time. I was pretty excited, thinking, okay, this is where we're going to get going because it is just button up here right at the previous high. I've also been seeing price starting to break past the daily 200, and there's been a lot of volume in this. Now, I don't think we are exactly out of the woods. Like today, the market, even though it had a little bit of a bounce and recovered from the hot CPI numbers, it's still not looking very convincing to the long side. So I'm pretty neutral as far as what the market looks like it wants to be doing right now. And I can still flip bullish on the UVXY right now if I need to, whenever we see things change again. The hourly 50 is still generally in an uptrend. The Moxie indicator is still above zero. And this daily chart still looks fairly good with that 8 and 21 spread and price basically flagging. So, right now, since we had a pretty big position on, and even on a small bounce with the market, the UVXY can go down pretty big. So that's why I said, hey, if we didn't implode and crash on the CPI numbers, then I said, let's just step aside for now and kind of reassess things and see where we're going. Papillion, yes, I should be on YouTube right now. So anybody over on YouTube and Facebook, it looks like I got a few eyeballs over there too, from what I can see on my metrics. But yeah, we're there, and that means this will be recorded, but we also record everything through our simpler app anyway. All right, so that's the UVXY, still looking precarious to the upside. Still looking like this thing could go higher, which means the market down, all that kind of stuff. And if we take a look at the SPY itself, and we come over here and look at this, yes, we have been oversold, but some of the things that I've been looking at from 2018, 2008, those kind of things, we have seen that price, even though it's gotten oversold here, was able to get more oversold and was able to get outside of its third ATR. So all of that was definitely a possibility. Again, thinking that the Fed, which was the FOMC, we got that short covering rally into it, and then it immediately failed. So down we went, and then I was thinking CPI is probably going to do something, and it did for the morning, and then it bounced up like that. As I said, still kind of unconvincingly bullish, but I don't want to be fighting that for right now. And the thing I do have a concern about is if we look here on the daily chart, we can see that things are pretty oversold because there is still a gap here between price and the daily 8. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that third ATR. I'm looking at the CPI, and I'm looking at the market reaction. I'm like, okay, guess it's not going to be going right now, right here. So we changed tactics a little bit. We made some money on shorting the S&P, and then the UVXY long didn't quite work out. So, not too bad there. But then we have names like LWLG, which we loaded up pretty nicely on this one. We took one position here, and then we tripled that position here, and then we got down here. So I think that was about a 42% gain. Let's see, so about here to here, yeah, 41, 40%, kind of depends where you got in. So that was really nice. And that's the other thing, that when I'm looking at the market, what's going on out there today and this week, and even the end of last week, we have been seeing a whole lot of names do this. Like, it has been crazy seeing that over the last 4 or 5 days, how many names have gone straight down, and yet the market kind of went down a little bit. So that is something that we do need to take a look around at. I don't trade in a vacuum, and I do look around at the market. I do look around at a bunch of different names just to get an assessment of what's going on out there. And I was in Las Vegas. We just left yesterday to come back home to Washington, but I was there for the money show to give a little bit of a speech and a presentation. And so I wasn't looking too much at all the stocks, and we had the weekend and all that kind of stuff. So I went through yesterday looking around, and let me just show you some examples. Like TW, look at that thing straight down. Unity, straight down and continues to go. TTCF, straight down. God, just pick a name, and we've been seeing these things go straight down like this. Cube is another one, straight down over the last few days. We have been seeing this all over the place as basically funds, hedge funds, firms are getting liquidated, they're getting margin called, and they're in trouble because the market is imploding, and so their positions are going down. And so if their brokers are saying, look, your risk ratio is not good, and you're not going to take us down with you, so we're going to force you to sell whatever you need to sell in order to get your margins back in line and get your equity up. And so that's kind of what we've been seeing here with these names just going straight down, getting sold out of nowhere. So what I'm saying is, despite seeing all of this stuff like this, the SPY itself only did this. So that's kind of that's the information that I'm taking. A lot of these names really cracked right here. So if you look at what the market did compared to what individual names did, the market actually held up. I was thinking I really wanted to see it come down like this and then really come down even further, and it didn't. So the fact that so many names have been imploding, going straight down while the market did this, I'm thinking, all right, we're getting pretty oversold. Yes, the index looks pretty oversold. A lot of these names look oversold, and I just don't know how much more downside there is. We had some fun with it. Look at Lulu. We even took Lulu on this. This thing went straight down. Again, we were short here. We exited yesterday, right about here. What was that, about 20? I think it was 20%. Yeah, about 20% on that. And so I'm looking at these things just thinking, all right, I think a lot of things have had their moves and they've gotten really oversold. Look at CrowdStrike. Same thing. Look at this. Straight down over the last few days. And now they're getting to points where, as bad as this is, as bad as the bloodbath is, this is where you basically want to start cashing in your shorts. You definitely don't want to initiate a short here because this is just extremely oversold. I can't say it enough. And so I looked at this and said, you know what? I don't know how much further a name like this can go down. And so what can the market do? If these things can't go down much further, then I don't think the market's going to be able to go much further. So I'm looking at something like this, and I think that now here's the tricky part. And those of you who are in the free trading room, I know you were just listening to Taylor. My concern, he was saying the same thing, is like, yeah, I'm kind of thinking the downside for the market is over for right now. But boy, trying to find something on the upside is also pretty challenging. Do we think that these names are going to get bought up? That's my question. That's my problem that I have to kind of decide and figure out here is, what if these names just kind of meander for a while? These names may not, just because they're oversold, they may not explode back to the upside. That's the problem. So it's going to be tough trying to figure out which ones are going to go. If I were to just initially look at CrowdStrike, I would say, yeah, there should be a bounce. Now, how long is that bounce going to go? How far is it going to go? We don't know. That's the real challenge. But yes, extremely oversold. It does look like we're starting to put in some levels like that. And we are back over the 15-minute 50. The Moxie indicator is looking and we do not have a setup on the hourly chart. So, something like this, what I would be thinking is maybe we get a bounce somewhere back up here. But we're going to have to wait and see if that actually happens. We don't know. So yeah, it's a really challenging situation out there. Zendesk, I mean, look at this stuff. These things just careened over. You can see here it fell through the daily 50 straight down. Just straight down. Talk about a bloodbath out there. But now, like, do I want to short that? No, I absolutely do not want to short that. Where you wanted to short it was going into this. This was an inverse trampoline move. Price, the Moxie indicator below 0, but price was over the 50. That's an inverse trampoline move. And so that was something that was happening. Even earnings didn't do anything with it. And we've actually, Danielle has been shorting almost every earnings play out there. And I think she's at least getting like a 3 out of 4 win on something like that. So it's been pretty great on the short side for those earning plays. In fact, we've had a few of them too. We got Tupperware, we got LWLG. Those things have been working. So yeah, these things could go further. Of course, they could always go further, but I wouldn't really want to be initiating. And honestly, if I had made money from here to here, I'm going to say thank you to the market and take my money and walk away from something like that. Now, as I said, I'll repeat, the real problem is, are these things going to spring back up, or are they just going to meander around because this market is just still terrible and doesn't have any real interest in doing anything? That's the $1 million question, right? Sean, yes, I cut everything. I cut my SPXS, so we got a little gain on that. I cut my UVXY, everything. Because the CPI number came in hot, sure, and the market did tank in the futures, but it got bought back up. And so we got to take that as information. We got to look at that and say, all right, fine. If all of that news is not enough to push the market down, then we gotta exit and look for the next opportunity. It was kind of the same thing with the FOMC. We caught this nice short rally into the FOMC, which literally lasted 2 hours. But that was why I was bullish into the FOMC, because I figured, well, this looks like it wants to go higher. It's actually following these moving averages. We got the Moxie indicator above zero. Everything worked out. And despite whatever news that came out through the FOMC, it went higher. And that was that short squeeze. So we have to take these news events and these things that, that the market should react one way or should react another, and it does something different, then we need to take that as information and make sure we're paying attention to it. So something like the S&P, yeah, it went down on it, but if it can't stay down and we're this oversold already and individual names are looking like an absolute bloodbath out there, and that didn't pull the market down as far as I thought it would, then you got to take that and say, okay, we'll move on. So yeah, now, as I said, we're trying to figure out where we want to go with this. Probably to the long side, but we're gonna have to find the right names to decide which ones to do that. What I have been seeing, and what was interesting, is over, well, the last 4 days when we were seeing everything roll over, everything got hit. Literally everything got hit. It was pretty crazy to look around and see this stuff. Now, for USO, I was talking last week and through here, and I was saying, yeah, this looks pretty good, right? I said I'm looking at the individual names, individual oil names, Halliburton, CVX, you name it, Phillips, Conoco, all those things. And I said, I'm not totally sure about this. I'm not sure that this is where I really want to go long on, say, oil names, because they look like they need a pullback. And I said, I'm also thinking the market's going to pull back. So do I really want to be long on those things when I think that the market's about to pull back? And looks like I was correct on that. Even oil got pulled back. Now it's held up. That was the other thing I was saying, is even if it gets yanked down, it's probably basically just going to keep doing this, which it has. So let's look at something like CVX. This is one I've been talking about. Now, I still don't know if I'm bullish on these things. Yes, they've recovered today. But what I was saying is, in through here, I do not want to initiate a long. I thought the market was going to go down, which it did. So I figured these things were going to pull down, which they did. And I also said, look at this gap between price and the hourly 50. And I said, I think we're going to have price come back down, which it did. So, but the other thing I said is, hey, even if it does go back down, really, all it's doing is that. I mean, look at that. It's just kind of flagging. So, and you can see it's recovered. I had a couple subscribers say, well, if I'm already in it, should I exit or should I get out? And I said, no, I think you're fine. If you're already in it, and hopefully you're in from a decent spot, I said, it's probably just going to flag sideways yet. But I said, I just can't initiate a long trade, last week going into something like that for this exact reason. For these, you can see it just right there, pulled down. Let's see, Halliburton, these are all going to be basically looking the same deal. I did not want to enter a long position right here. I was concerned about it. This is another inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. That's exactly what that was. And I said, yeah, I don't think this is really going to do much. So here you go. pulled back, basically did a double bottom. Now maybe we have some positive divergence. I'm gonna have to wait and give this a little bit more time to see what I want to do with it. But basically, bigger picture is yes, it went down, which is why I didn't want to enter, but it hasn't fallen apart. And so this might be something that we need to look at if you are trying to find a sector or industry that could have some strength if the market is going to bounce for a little bit. So those are things I'm looking at. Gold, we're looking for a flight to safety, but I saw one of the traders I follow out there talk about like, if it wasn't nailed down, they pulled it. And yeah, we've seen so many things just get pulled down, regardless of what sector it was. If it wasn't bolted to the floor, they pulled it down. And so even gold, we saw that get pulled down. Now, I do think gold miners, gold related precious metals, I do think at some point a lot of these names are reaching seriously oversold levels. Again, with the market, again, with individual names. You can see here, it's running into that third ATR, so it's been oversold. And now we're also coming into this daily 200 moving average as support. We're even starting to finally see some positive divergence on the hourly chart. So price down, Moxie indicator up. We're starting to see some positive divergence. Now, is it anything I can act on yet? No. This is why I haven't added any of these positions. I haven't done anything with them yet. So we've been watching, waiting for something like that. Nothing has confirmed yet. Now, it's still probably going to take a few more days because this market just seems to have no appetite. You got to kind of think about what's going on out there in the world. What's going on out there in the world of trading, finance, hedge funds, firms. If let me show you examples. If we go back to TW for an example, whatever firm was here or group of firms that got in trouble and their broker said, "Look, we're calling margin on you because you're leveraged 10 to 1 and you're underwater and we're not going to be responsible for this, and you need to start selling whatever you need to sell in order to get back within line, within reasonable areas, and get your equity up so that you don't go bankrupt." You're going to have to do it. And so this is what forced liquidation selling is, and basically margin calling. That's what this is. Okay. Straight down, doesn't matter anything. People just need to get out at any cost. We saw that with Discovery Channel. And I think that I always have a hard time. Archipelago, something like that guy. And that's what we've been seeing when these things just need to get out. So think about how many firms might have been taken out of the game, how many firms might have had to do bankruptcy, how many firms just don't have the capital or liquidity, and all they're doing is trying to lick their wounds right now and just stay solvent and stay afloat. Tiger Capital, I think they're down 60% or something. Huge losses across the board out there. So even though these things are at very, very oversold levels, we got to think, who has the capital to come in here and buy this stuff? Everybody just wiped their slates clean and they're just trying to stay afloat. And so even though these things look like they are really good buying opportunities, they're down, they're on sale, they're discounted, they may not. Because first off, I'm not sure even I want to come in here and buy this. I look at this, I'm like, okay, great. Are they going to spring back? Or are they just going to chop around and meander and not do much? And really, is it just a bounce and a downtrend? Because that bounce might not be very much. So these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves when we come into stuff like this. Let me see, con, same thing. Do we want to be catching anything like this? The best that we could kind of hope for, and this is exactly my concern, is look at this big move here on con, right? This big move here on con. It looks just like TW. Looks just like these other names that I've been showing, and then you could just look around, like just go through your watch list. You're going to see these names just have gotten rolled over the last few days. And so the best we could hope for is kind of a relief rally, right? Back up to something. But boy, that's a tough thing to trade, because even if you were able to get in here, up, down, until you finally catch a move, that would be really hard and really uncomfortable to stomach through. And then how do you know that the next one, let's say you were able to get in here, it goes up, down, and then keeps going down. How do we know which one it's going to be? How do we know when dip buyers come in or shorts have to get out of their shorts, and so we get a short squeeze, versus just nothing? Maybe some shorts are covering, but other than that, no buyers are coming in. That's the problem, and that's the real challenging thing that we need to do in through here. Christian, could the super fast forced liquidations also create just as much of a forced short covering rip, or not as extreme? That's a good question. It's hard to say. And what I'm that's kind of what I'm saying is I don't know who these may not have been short cover. The reason these stocks went down was not necessarily because people were shorting. It was because they got forced liquidations. So if that's the case, then there aren't a lot of shorts to cover in order to create a short squeeze. And you look at stocks like this and you think about, okay, again, who's got the capital? You know, who's willing to step in here? If nobody's willing to step in, then shorts don't need to cover. And honestly, maybe the shorts that were covering it was here. So you got a little bit of a short squeeze or a short covering rally, but nobody actually came in to buy it afterward. And so it keeps going down. That's the problem. Glenn, good to see you. I just saw you commenting there. Yeah, good seeing you in Vegas, man. Glad to see you updated your handle too on Simpler. Yeah, good meeting you in person. So yeah, we had a nice happy hour with I don't know, we had probably had about 10 or 12 traders that were from Simpler, and subscribers came out, see John, me, and yeah, we were just hanging out at Paris Hotel in the lobby bar for, gosh, it was almost 2.5 hours that we were all chatting. So yeah, it's brutal out there, guys, and I'd be cautious about rapidly wanting to buy stuff again. I mean, look at Apple. Does this look like it's ready for a short squeeze? I don't know. Does it look like it's ready to get bought up again? I don't know. It could just do a whole bunch of nothing, you know? And even if you get a short squeeze, how shortly lived were those? You know, up and then right back down, up and then right back down. This is a very tough market. You know, I'm still extremely cautious on the short side. I'm still, I'd be ready to jump right back in the UVXY if it gives me something. In fact, let me show you guys. Let's see here. This, not that one. This is why I have so many windows open at the bottom, because I've been saving a lot of historical stuff. Now, this was from 2018. And I just want to point out that you can see right here that price on the UVXY pulled back and pulled back exactly to the hourly 50, which I think we're basically at the hourly 50 right now on the UVXY. You can see here on the 15 made a pretty big dent. And then what it do? Ripped and ripped. Okay. So that's why I'm saying I'm still definitely keeping an eye on either direction for where we need to go. Because let me show you then 2018. This is the market. This is the S&P from 2018. Notice how the market actually flagged sideways for a few days and then fell again. And it flagged sideways and flagged sideways for a few days and then get seriously oversold. So this is why, if we look back at, say, the SPY, it's still perfectly possible, perfectly feasible for the market to just catch its breath for a little bit and then go lower. So, what if we just flag a little bit and we go lower? That's possible. What if we bounce and go lower? That's possible. I'm just saying, like, right this moment, it does look a little bit challenging to the set downside. A lot of names have already moved huge. But what if they all chill out for a little bit and then take the next level down? That's a possibility too. There's really, I don't see a clear path here. The Moxie indicator doesn't look amazing. We're not even really catching much here. I think the internals have been mildly bullish. You can see here, yes, we've been bullish, but look, even on the Nasdaq, versus the S&P, mixed. So there is not a clear picture out there, guys. Javier, so no, volume does not go into Moxie, and it's a momentum based indicator. So what we're trying to do is figure out if price is accelerating or decelerating, coasting, or anything else like that. Let's see, how far back is the current Moxie reading taking prices back? Well, that just depends on your time view. So if you're on the daily chart, you can see here I have 2 years on. It'll go back 2 years. But if you want to go back 20 years, it'll go back 20 years. It just goes back however long we're looking. So that's just, yeah. And then I think over here, let's see, let me open up. I think it was hourly. Yeah. You guys can see here, I wrote about this. I posted this on the social medias and things. Air pocket. And I wrote that. I posted it right here. And you can see we've now gone through it. So that worked out too. That worked out well. Arvind, so how do I trade with the VIX so high? Well, fortunately, I don't trade options. I don't really have to worry about options and volatility, implied volatility being high. I just buy or sell. So that's pretty easy. And other than that, I mean, you just follow the charts. You just follow the charts. So it doesn't matter that the VIX is high because it could go higher. Kind of what I've been looking for is trying to see if this thing is actually just going to flag and go higher. It's having a hard time trying to break out from here. But I was kind of thinking that we'd go sideways and then pop. It's still possible, but I just don't see either direction right now. And so the fact that this wasn't able to break out on that hot CPI numbers, I'm like, okay, fine. I'll take that idea off the books right now, and then we'll just have to see where we go from there. No, the air pocket is not the same as the moat. Go back to that. So yeah, not the same topic or concept, just air pocket. Because when you look here, the reason I said that is because there's kind of a level of price here, and there's a level of price here, and you can see that there was just this quick little movement right there, and in fact, there was a little air pocket right there. So I had a feeling that when you look across to where price was currently at the time, it was sitting here. Well, if it can break this level, it's probably going to go to the other side because there's just not much consolidation here. It's not much price action. So that was kind of my thought, and that's why I said air pocket. And you can see we did exactly that. We did go to the other side of it. All right, guys. I'm going to be wrapping up there because I got to go into the options room for the next hour. So if you guys are in the Moxie room, I'm going to be dual broadcasting there. Anybody in the free trading room, if you guys have questions, come over here to profitpilot.com. Same with anybody on Facebook and YouTube. So yeah, if you guys like the way I look at the market and how I talk about stuff, then just come on over, check things out, and let me know how I can help you out. Yeah, Kevin, if you want to join, just come over here to services, and that's where you can find. I got classes. You guys can join the Moxie Mastery, which is the trading room, and that's where I just talk to everybody and give you as much information as I possibly can because we're all in this together. Really, I'm trading my own money. I'm talking to people, and I'm giving everybody a heads up about what I'm doing and what I'm looking at out there. So, yep, profitpilot.com. Cool, guys. I'll see you next week, and in the free to trading room, I'll see you again on Friday.